Okay, let's try this one more time. Hello everybody, this is Jonas from Sweden back again to do a vinyl video. I still have a cold. I've been sick all week and today I was working from home. And when I'm working from home, I have the privilege to be able to listen to records as I work. I took my Discogs page and I randomized records until I stumbled upon a jazz record because I only wanted to play jazz today. And that's what I played. So I got a bunch of records to show you that I played today, and I want to talk a little bit about them. I also wanted to with the new speakers, the Bucard S400, and all the new stuff that I've got. I have a pretty. I bumped up the sound quality some classes, in my opinion, or to my ears. So I want to see if the records that got randomized sounds good or better than I remember them. So I graded them on sound quality and on music also. Let's see how this goes, shall we? Okay, so the first one is this. This is actually a new record, so I started to play this. It's a part of the classic series. Herbie Hancock, Maiden Voyage 1965 with Freddie Hubbard, George Coleman, Ron Carter and Anthony Williams. And I have to say that Tony Williams and Herbie Hancock is stealing the show. This is a fantastic modal sort of record. Sometimes it swings, sometimes it don't. You have some more quiet songs and parts of it. But this is a masterpiece, a modal masterpiece. Demands a little bit more of the listener, I think, than other Herbie Hancock records. I put this sound-wise at a 9 because, in my opinion, with the stuff that I have in my collection and to my ears, this is a 9. It's almost perfect. Perfect separation, details in the instruments. The soundstage is wide, not too wide. Yeah, great. And music, I put at a 8. Masterpiece at 8. Jonas. Okay, so the next one is also a classics from the classic series, and this is a classic record, isn't it? I mean, Out to Lunch with Eric Dolphy, with Freddie Hubbard again, Bobby Hutcherson, Richard Davis, and Tony Williams, 1964. So the year before Maiden Voyage. So you have an even younger Tony Williams on this one. It's just insane. One of the best records ever recorded. It has to be. Like, I mean, this is. I put this the classic series, mastered by Kevin Gray from the analog tapes. Yidi yadi, you know the deal. It sounds fantastic. This sounds like a 9 or maybe a 10. It's probably the best sounding of the classic series, and music-wise, this is a 10. Like all day long, this is a 10 from start to finish. A perfect record. Okay, so the next one, now I started to use the randomizer on Discogs, and it landed on Shakti with John McLaughlin from 1976 with his Shakti band on CBS. This is a fantastic record. It's intense as shit, and it's a John McLaughlin sort of a solo record. It's a lot. There's a lot of John McLaughlin in this record. Let's just put it at that. Sound quality wise, it's not perfect. It's a live take, so you have the live stage, which is fairly good, but there's so much percussion going on here, so it gets a little bit muddy sometimes. I wouldn't say that I was disappointed on the sound, because it reminds me a little bit of Friday Night in San Francisco, but just muddier. Music wise, maybe a 7, 6 or a 7. 6, and sound wise a 5 out of 10. Okay, so the next one is a fairly rare Norwegian record that was randomized. This is Moose Loose from Norway, 1974. A funk party blast. It's definitely sort of a record from its time. That sort of funky jazz fusion-esque, but with a little bit more of a muddier production, maybe. I don't think that this is released on, maybe it's private pressed. I should have done the research on that. It reminds me of Pop Workshop and maybe John Hammer's work. solo work and work with Jerry Goodman and stuff like that. It's heavy on the Moog, on the electric piano, and it's also a guitar-driven funky record. Highly recommended. This is, I mean, sound quality wise, it's a 5, but the music is maybe a 7 or something like that. Okay, so now to the record that's not going into the collection, and I'm starting to question everything with this guy because George Benson, Good King Bad on CTI. This is awful, like really the worst kind of crap that anyone could shit out on CTI, in my opinion. I give this music a 2 or a 3 maybe, because the guitar playing is not that awful. It's more the compositions or the songs that are awful maybe. And song quality wise, sound wise, it's maybe a 6 or maybe boundary of a 7. It's not sounding bad at all. Good detail. I mean CTI, I bet they had pretty good money when they recorded. So yeah, this is crap. Going out of the collection. Okay, the next one that was randomly picked by the Discogs machine is this one, Weather Report with Sweet Nighter, 1973. And this is pre-Jaakko, so you have Miroslav Vitos on bass. And you also have Joe Samuel and Wayne Shorter and some percussion guys. This is fantastic. One of the best Weather Report records. And this is on par with everything that Miles put out, in my opinion, in the start of not start maybe 70s, but maybe later 70s at least. I mean, this is not a Beach's Brew, but it's definitely up there when you start to compare it with maybe On the Corner and a little bit more the sort of the funkier jazz side of fusion. I prefer this time period of Weather Report. I love Jaco Pastorio's bass playing, but it gets a little bit towards that sort of polished sound later on. I like this a little bit more muddier sound that they had. Feels more free-spirited. I don't know. Sound quality-wise, this was fantastic. Sound like a 7 maybe. Highly recommended, because this costs like nothing and it will sound really good if you have a good like turntable and sound equipment. Reminded me a little bit of a Braxas. You have this wide sort of sound stage, very detailed. Every instrument is its own, and the separation of each channel is just perfect. So yeah, 7, maybe 8. Yeah, maybe 8. Music-wise, 8, in my opinion. It's a great fusion record. Okay, so the next one is a Swedish record. It's getting kind of hard to find, I think, nowadays. Got it when it... I mean, it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't expensive. Made in Sweden, Snakes in a Hole, 1968, I think. You got some titties and cool-looking gatefold. There's the guys there. Jojje Wadenius, Bo Häggström, and Tommy Borgud. And this is the Jojje and Borgud show, in my opinion. Like guitar, very good. Drumming, fantastic. And I mean, Made in Sweden definitely has its own voice. You can hear influences from maybe England, from the progressive and psychedelic scene, but also jazz, maybe especially jazz, in 1968. I also hear, I don't know if it's the same time period, but I also hear other Nordic groups like Wigwam, for example. But Jojje definitely have his own guitar voice. So yeah, there's no doubt about that. Sound quality wise, this is on Sonnet. Sonnet is not the best high fidelity sort of records. They all sound like okay, maybe. So let's say a 5 or a 6. It's all dead center and yeah, pretty laid back, no dynamics whatsoever to talk about, at least. But music-wise, this is maybe the best one, on par with Made in England, if you want to venture out in the sort of Made in Sweden realm. So maybe a 7. Okay, the next one. Shit, this was nice to be randomized because I never played this. I should. I got this box set cheap as hell when it was left in a web store, something like that, after 2015's record store day, I think. Got it for like 30 euro or 20 euro, something like that. So it's a box. It's Miles Davis on Prestige 10-inch LP collection, volume 1. I don't have volume 2. And I actually played the, let's see here, I'm going to cheat. Sorry, Blue Period, 1953. And what a lineup. You have Jackie McLean, Sonny Rollins, Art Blakey, and Percy Heath on this. And, I mean, it's not, sound quality-wise, it's not perfect. Not at all. It's really like, it almost sounds like you're playing an original press from 1953. But that's part of the charm. I don't know if I wanted, perfect silent press of this. Obviously, I would, but it takes away a little bit of the charm. Happy with this. Awesome box set. Sound quality maybe a 5, 4, something like that. And music-wise, 9, 8. I mean, I've definitely heard more interesting jazz pieces, but history-wise, it's undoubtedly the sort of foundation of much of the stuff that I have in my collection. So what can you say? Okay, so the next one is this is awesome record to be randomized. It's been a while since I played this. This is Jack Bruce, Things We Like, from 1970, recorded 68 but released 1970. This is with John McLaughlin, John Heisman, and Dick Hackstall Smith. Highly recommended. I mean, if you bought Songs for a Tailor and liked that, and then bought this back in the day, I guess you're a bit surprised, bummed out, and maybe mostly confused. But you can turn that around. If you bought this in 1970 and you really liked this, and then you went and bought Songs for a Tailor, you'd be pretty confused also, because this is a free jazz record, like flat out free jazz record, no song, no singing, no lyrics, not whatsoever. This is wild. It's maybe the most wild that John McLaughlin is on in the 60s, maybe. I will get crap for that. Yeah, right. If you know anything that is more out there in the 60s for John McLaughlin. Okay, so I just want to say also that I've been collecting John McLaughlin for 10 plus years, on and off. I'm not a I need everything by John McLaughlin, but when I find stuff for a great price, I get it, because I love his guitar playing. Such a unique voice with the guitar. Fantastic. Now, with that being said, this is sort of a cool thing to listen to when you like John McLaughlin, because with Mahavishnu Orchestra and Shakti and those kind of records and his solo stuff, obviously he's a solo artist. I mean, the guitar and his voice is front stage. Like, he is the guy to see and listen to. But with this record, and maybe with Tony Williams' Lifetime, he is part of a group, and that's so obvious. Like, really part of art being made in some sort of way. When I listened to it, I thought like, this is really a dialogue between McLaughlin and the other players, whilst maybe Mahavishnu or Shakti and his solo stuff is more a monologue of him trying to get his gospel out. I don't know. That's just my 10 cents on the whole. A great record. Quality, sound quality wise, nothing much, like a 6, maybe 5, 6. Music wise, maybe a 8. Okay, so this is, now we go far back. This is the Aladdin Sessions by Lester Young, 1948. I think this was recorded. I only played one side of this, and this is the reissue series from Blue Note. I think it's It was released in the late 70s with that sort of dark blue B and label. If you know your Blue Note, you know that. And they sound good, really good. If you do your research and because we can't own everything and compare. But when I did my research and keep doing my research, I go to a place called, when it comes to Blue Note and jazz, London Jazz Collector or something like that. And he has done a list of the most like sounding Blue Note pressings, and this 70 like kind of dark blue isn't that bad in his opinion, and he is expert on the subject. Okay, fuck that. Lester Young Aladdin Sessions 1947. I can't say that I've ever heard Lester Young swing like this ever. Lester Young for me is sort of a laid back, sort of a big saxophone player. With this, he's swinging, he's having fun, he's playing his heart out, and he's playing with the group. Like, yeah, that's just my opinion. I don't know if there's anyone more than I can like name drop, but sound quality wise, this sounded good, as I said. And if you compare this 48 recording with the 53 recordings of Miles, this sounds hell of a lot better. Hell of a lot better. So just to give you a hint there. Sound wise, or not sound, music wise, maybe let's say a 7. Yep. So I mean, as you can hear, I praised my records, but why would I buy bad records? I come back to this, like every record is the best record ever recorded. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. But why would I have like 2 and 3s in my collection? I'm not that sort of collector. I don't collect huge batches of records. If I have something that is like a 5 out of 10, I really consider if it's what it's doing in my collection. So with the Benson record right now, where I thought that maybe it's a 2, it's going straight out of the collection. Like it doesn't have anything to do in the shelves. So that's just why it's pretty high, in my opinion. You have your opinion. I have mine. With the music, that's why it's so cool with music, because we can think and we can talk about this, and we have opinions and. Okay, so 1986. This was also randomized. This is heavy metal jazz. It's really like I can't imagine a heavier jazz record than this. And what is heavy? Yeah, I don't know. If you have come so far till this, please write me a comment if you know any record that is more heavier than this. That's not included Peter Brötzmann, because you can say that Machine Gun is heavier, but without dropping anything with Peter Brötzmann, is there anything that is heavier than this? Last Exit, Sonny Sharrock, Peter Brötzmann, Bill Laswell, and Ronald Shannon Jackson, 1986. Heavy record. Fantastic. Sound quality wise, maybe a 7, 6. Didn't sound bad at all, but it's I mean, it's maybe not that sort of record. And I think I'm holding this at a 7 music wise also, maybe. I have to admit, I cheated, because this was next to the next one that was randomized, and I couldn't just leave it there. This is 70, maybe 71. Belladonna with Iron Car. And I can play this every day, all day long. I never get tired of this record. It's such a fantastic record, like one of the best jazz records. And to skip ahead a little bit, this is a 10. In my book, this is a 10. And definitely maybe on my top 3 or 5 lists of jazz sort of fusion records ever. I think I'm gonna make a statement here. I think that I'd probably put this on before Bitches Brew, when we're talking about that sort of electric jazz sort of You know the deal. Fantastic, just fantastic. And being a Vertigo record from this time period, because they don't sound that good. It sounds pretty good. Original UK press on Vertigo Swirl, maybe a 7 or boundary of 8 maybe, sound quality wise. Separation, good. Soundstage, good. Clear detail on every instrument. And I'm fortunate to have a sort of a near mint copy of it, so no pops and scratches and ticks and stuff like that. Music wise, as I said, a 10. I don't think I have anything more to say about that. I mean, Ian Carr has his own voice, definitely his own voice. I love his trumpet playing. I hail it as one of the best trumpet players ever, to me, because when he's playing, I get chills down my spine. So yeah, okay, leave it at that. Okay, so the next one was also a randomized record. It's been a while since I played this, and I'm gonna slaughter the title now. This is the Roscoe Mitchell Art Ensemble with Conglittious on Nessa. This is a free jazz record, and there's no doubt in anyone's mind that this is a free jazz record. You have Roscoe Mitchell, obviously, Lester Bowie, someone called Favors, and Robert Crowder on drums. And I started off with the first side, but then I remembered, like, yeah, this is definitely the first side, because there's three songs. The first one is a bass solo on 6 minutes. The second one is an alto saxophone solo, also 6 minutes. And then the last one is called Jazz Death, ? 7 minutes, trumpet solo, recorded in 1968. So I skipped to the second side just to hear them play together, also 1968. And it's a wild ride. I mean, it's so spontaneous, and you can really hear art being made. When I listened to it, I thought, like, if you, because this is art, and what is art? If you come to listen to this and you expect to see like a Rembrandt painting, this perfect painting where the face is just it's all there, the colors is all there, you can almost like touch the depth in the painting and the details, and it's so beautiful. But it's also what you see, what you get, a little bit like that. If you come to listen to this with that sort of mindset, you are going to be disappointed, and you are going to be confused. And I understand, like, with avant-garde and free jazz and free music and free art, I mean, how do you explain to people what it is you like with this? Because I understand that it's hard to digest, but how do you explain it? And for me, if you go to see a Rembrandt and you see this, then yeah, obviously you are going to be confused. This is more like seeing Jackson Pollock or Miro work, like not going to see their paintings hanging on a wall. But this is like watching those guys, the sort of the avant-garde painters, actually while they're working. I can't say that this is the best free jazz record I've ever heard. It's maybe a 6 or a 7, something like that. And sound quality wise, maybe a 6. It's kind of muddy, but I love it because it's such a spur of the moment sort of record. So yeah, then the next to last one is Alan Holdsworth's Velvet Darkness, 76. Also randomized. It's been a long time since I played this. And Alan Holdsworth, man oh man, what a guitar player. Such a good guitar player. Every note is perfect. And if I remember it correctly, this record was put out without his permission, and he hated it. yeah, I don't know. I love it. It's a fantastic record. I'm so glad that they put it out. Is it a typical CTI record? Absolutely not. It doesn't sound CTI at all. And I don't know if I'll argue with you about it, but yeah, in my opinion, no, not the CTI that I've heard. An old VC favorite. I think the first time I ever heard about this was from Chris Cole. Talked about it in a video many moons ago. And the last one that I played, Archie Shepp, There's a Trumpet in My Soul. This was recorded in New York, 1975, 12th of April. And there's not many of the players on here that I recognize. It's a good record. Good record. Oh shit, Alan Holsworth, sound quality wise, I put that on a 7 and music is a 7. And with this, I hold this as a maybe sound quality wise 6, 7 maybe. And music wise maybe a 6, 5 or 6. Not the best Shepp record. So yeah, sorry to hurry it up, but I think my camera is turning itself off right about soon. It's not even a word. Hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it, and I enjoyed listening to the records today when I was working. And I hope to do more of these sort of like dives into the old collection. But you know, it's a question of time, isn't it? So yeah, until next time, have a good one. Bye.